say right at the onset that we were going to have this discussion anyways. So I figured we'd just turn the camera on, do a little introduction, and then hopefully we just forget about the camera and have a conversation, and it doesn't feel super awkward and weird. Like
just ignore the camera.
Just ignore the camera.
It'll just be a normal conversation.
Yeah.
Nice and chill.
Yeah. So this is the guy that introduced me to Nick's. You want to grab the original pair there?
Yeah. So let's check out the OG pair right here.
Yeah. So what is it? So
these are the Builder Pros. And 10-inch high, pretty standard configuration. These ones have the 1964 brown on bottom, and then the what was it on the top? The walnut. I think it was the walnut for the upper, and then the of course the good old honey vibram outsole. And pretty standard pair. They got the safety toe in them.
Is it the composite? Or
the composite. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, great pair of boots. And yeah, I got these. I started looking into them, and probably 2020 was when I was first looking into them and everything, and then started looking into them in 2021 a little bit more seriously. And then I did the their fit sheet thing that they were offering at the time. It was actually free for the fit sheet thing at the time, and I went through that whole process and did the try-on pair and everything, the over-the-phone consultation, and I got them August of 2021. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. Let's see. This is when they first came in, 2020. Okay, there they were, fresh out of the box. Wow. Look at those things. Mm-hmm. That was that was when I first got them. And man, had them ever since. Right on. Never looking back,
Heck yeah.
And then ended up, had them for a while, and then I decided I wanted to adjust some stuff on them, so I ended up getting them rebuilt in 2023, and, was without them for a couple weeks then, and then got them back and changed it out. Originally, it was rough out walnut on the bottom. Is it walnut for that? I'm trying to remember that brown shade, because I know
I can't remember for sure.
It was one of the OG colors, because they had their black, and then it was chocolate. I think it was walnut is that brown shade, this brown shade.
It could have just been brown, though, too, if chocolate was the other one.
Maybe. I want to say it was walnut. I'm pretty sure it was walnut is what they called it. But yeah, it was originally just the lower on it was also a rough out, and that was also walnut. And then I ended up, when I rebuilt it, I really liked the 1964 brown, so I went ahead and went with the smooth on it. And that was kind of the configuration I did. And originally I had a black,
the standard V100.
Yeah, the standard V100 outsole on it, and then I ended up switching out to the honey because I thought the honey went really good with the 1964 brown and all that.
Yeah.
And
it's just a great sole for being on your feet all day.
Oh, super nice. A little bit of squish to it,
Quieter.
A lot quieter. That was the thing I noticed after I swapped out. It's way, way quieter. So yeah, just been a beast of a boot though. Absolute beast of a boot. I can't believe how different it is. Since I've gotten it. So.
Right on. So yeah, you got those in 2021, and then I came along in mid to late 2022. Yeah. I saw you wearing them. I was fed up with crappy footwear. We started talking about it, and so I started looking. And I believe about the time I started looking was when they started charging for the try-on. So I had a little trepidation about that. I was really confident of my size, but I was kind of like, I don't want to take the plunge if it's not the right size. And then we were hanging out here at your house having dinner, and you let me try your boots on. We ended up being the same size, so that was
worked out just perfect.
Amen. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it worked out great. So, yeah, the tanker caught my attention right away as a equipment operator primarily.
Yeah,
but
I think they were just coming out with the tanker.
Yeah, it was. It was a brand new release. Yeah. Carl had just worked with them on showcasing that, so I was seeing that floating around, and yeah, when I ordered my pair, it was still under the new releases tab.
Yeah, so, that's right.
One of the first tanker adopters, and I've been wearing the absolute crap out of them ever since, and learned a whole bunch of new things about them too that nobody else is talking about. I'm trying to kind of spread the word on that.
Yeah.
But so let's see. I've had these since I got them in January. No, not January. July of 2020.
2 or 3?
It might have been. I'd have to look at the camera roll. I'll put that on the screen and post. But yeah, I think it was July 2022. So I guess I would have come along looking at yours in 2021 pretty shortly after you got it.
Yeah, right.
But
I think I talked to you pretty early on, because I remember you and I were talking about them pretty early on.
Yeah.
And I think you started more seriously considering them after
I know it was late. I know it was later in the year because you had your felt insoles in.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And but yeah, so now here we are. How many years later? Goodness, it's 2025.
Yeah. 4 years later, man, from when I got my
insane.
very first pair. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Yeah, I just remember, man, I was so, I couldn't stop telling people about how great they were when I got them. Because I was just blown away. I was like, I've never seen a boot that can last this long. Because before I had them, I mean, I had, Red Wing. I went through a phase with Red Wing for a while, and I was like, these are the best. These are the best of the best boot. And then I got Danners, and I was, because Red Wing was like, okay, but, the Danners, I was like, oh, Danners, and I remember getting a pair of their Quarry boots at the thrift store, and I remember I got them for a pretty good price at the thrift store, and I was like, oh, these, you can't beat these. These are the best. I laugh now, but it's like you can't beat these. These are the best of the best kind of thing, and I wore those. I remember, and the Red Wings, I think they maybe lasted me 2 years before I ran. Like, just completely wore out the toe.
Completely ragged, yeah.
Completely wore out the toe. They were barely wearable, And so I got the Danners, and I started wearing those. Same deal. About a year and a half, I couldn't even hardly wear them. They were just, the toe was totally worn out on them. They just were they were just falling apart. Stitches were ripping all over the place on them and everything. Couldn't even wear them. And so I was like, man, there's got to be something better. And I think just from watching YouTube, Wrangler Star. I remember seeing Wrangler Star kind of go through his whole process of getting them. And I just was like, wow, that's like, this is like American-made quality here. I saw the way they were made, and I just like, the more I saw them, I'm like, man,
some of those how it's made videos.
Yeah, man, how it's made. You saw like the stitching process, the leather and all that, how thick it was compared to normal boots and all that. And I was like, all right, I got to try a pair of these out, So I bit the bullet, and they're pretty good, pretty expensive, especially if you're not used to buying quality stuff. It seems really expensive and all that. But I bit the bullet and ordered a pair, and man, just blown away. It's in the long run way cheaper than going the other route. Then rather than buying a pair of $200 boots every other year or whatnot. I mean, you just buy one, whatever, however much they are right now, but you buy that and lasts you, my goodness, I mean, who knows how long they can last. I mean, just between rebuilds and all that, I mean, you can have them a long, long time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I was primarily Danner too. I liked their Vicious one. That's probably, I think when I was buying them, those were about 160. And those would last me like a season, which for me in the summer is about 4 months, and so pretty much a brand new pair of those every year, and then obviously wearing winter boots in the wintertime. But, and then they had I think it was called the Track Welt, was one of the first ones that lasted me more than, like significantly more than one season.
I remember seeing the Track Welt.
But it was with a valiant effort on my part. Like, I very quickly figured out, like, some of the backstay seams were blowing, and I got on stitching those back together immediately. Super glued a bunch of extra stuff back together as soon as it started delaminating. All the stuff. And all
having to work on your own boots all the time, repair them all the time,
Yeah. Instead of like this nice act of care for something that's, supporting you and what you do, you're like cobbling this piece of junk together like, come on, I'm on life support here.
And that's just it, man. It's like they're it's garbage, right? Yeah. Like a lot of modern boots, they're made to be garbage. They're made to fill up a landfill. They're made to just be something you wear for a little while. You throw away, you get a new one. And it's just the kind of consumer-based culture that we have nowadays. That's what it's all about. You buy something for a little while, you have it, and it's trash. It's made to be thrown away. But these, that's not the way they're made. No, that's not the way they're made at all. They're made to last. They're made to last most of your life with them.
Especially if you're not working hard every day. You're gonna buy a spare pair for the weekend, and those are gonna probably get passed down to a kid or something.
Exactly. You could pass it down to your kids and whatnot, and the work boots. I mean, it can last you years and years and years. And then you can get a rebuilt. It's like that's the thing about these. It's like even the upper on these is barely barely harmed. I could probably get these rebuilt. Who knows however many more times.
Yeah, at that point, the rebuild life is more about how much stitch life is left in there than really about how worn out the upper itself really is.
Yeah, seriously.
They can only restitch that so many times before it starts getting smaller and.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even just the toe box on it, like the leather, it's like that's what I was saying about the Red Wing and the Danner. It's like the toe box on them. I just shredded the toes within a year.
Yeah,
These,
yeah, it was the same.
This rebuild now is going on. It's going to be 2 years in August.
Yeah.
And it's like, toes are just fine. They're a little scuffed up. They're a little scuffed up and all that. But as far as actually wearing through them, I'm not worried about wearing through them at all.
Not a chance.
Maybe like if I went several more years without a rebuild, it's like, then, a few more years probably.
Yeah.
But, I'll get to resole before.
Well, and like the track welt came with a, like a rubber toe guard on it was one of the big reasons I got it, because I kick stuff all the time, and the toes are always the first point of failure for me. And even with that relatively nice for what you're talking about toe guard on there, it still wore through eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And here these are. I bought the toe cap on these because I thought I was, I heard Nick saying, you don't need the toe cap. You're never going to wear through that. And I didn't have faith at the time, but the new pair doesn't have a toe cap.
Yeah.
Because they're nothing. The point in between the outsole and the welt is certainly beat up pretty good, but that part I'm kicking all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I kick rocks, I kick the bobtatch closed with it, I'm kicking shovels, I kick everything.
Yeah.
I'm mad, I kick the wall,
And you got years of use out of it.
Oh yeah, and these aren't even, I'll wear through the sole on these and have to get a resole. I don't know if the rebuild's going to work because my welt is pretty demolished here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's enough room on there for the stitch down. Although I'm contemplating, I don't know if Nick's does this, but I'm contemplating asking if they'll just when they resole it, if they'll just take the safety toe out, and that should give them a little more room to stitch that line back in. Because I would love to just get these. I'd love to get them resoled instead of rebuilt, if at all possible.
Right.
And I'm leaning more toward no safety toe. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that, because it's
choice,
like in some ways it's like just depends on what you're doing. It's like it's definitely it definitely doesn't fit as good with the safety toe, and it definitely is a little. Maybe a little less comfortable. Maybe I'd say a little less comfortable, probably.
But I lose my little trick where I stand on my safety toe and I'm trying to reach,
get a little higher,
get that extra 3/4 of an inch.
Yep. That little it helps.
It does.
A little bit.
There's been several times. Yeah,
I've done it. But yeah, it's like I've heard that. I can't even remember the last time I had a pair of boots without a pair of work boots without a safety toe. But everybody you talk to, it seems like they're like, it's just better, more comfortable. Your foot fits in it a little bit better and all that.
And it looks better.
It does, yeah. You don't got the big bulbous.
Vain, but...
You don't got the big bulbous toe sticking out. I will say that is something I appreciate about Nick's, is they still, even with the hard toe, it's like they still, they make it look good.
Oh, they do.
They
Absolutely,
make it look so good. They just kind of they taper it just right and everything, and that was always my thing when I first got my first pair of Builder Pros. Was I was worried that the toe box was gonna just look too bulbous and kind of all that. And then I came in and I was like, oh, it's actually pretty slim.
Yeah.
I remember even talking to a couple of guys on the job site and stuff, and they were like, I was telling them about it and everything. They're like, wow, that has a safety toe. It doesn't actually look that like bulky and whatnot.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of boots, like the Timberland Pros, like they got their model with the same kind of rubberized toe cap that you're talking about and everything, and that thing, that toe looks huge on that thing.
Yeah, even after it's all broke in, because after you break it in even more, that appearance of that safety toe goes away even more as you break it in.
True that, yeah.
Yeah, so, well, and then, so we got along with everything, and I started the Thunderdome with the pair that you're wearing right now.
Yeah, see if we can catch it in the camera there.
Maybe, there's the Ash Gray Tanker Pros for everybody that's familiar with them.
Yeah.
And, so, after being in the Thunderdome 2 months, I think? No, 3 months. It was January. I reached out to you and I was like, "Do you want to try the tank? I'm not wearing the original tankers, and you're the guy that introduced me, so I felt okay." And that's something else I was thinking about the other day. Here I am, I got this pair of boots, and without any actual concern for their safety, I hand them off to you.
Yep.
I'm not in the least. Any other pair of boots, if I was to say, "Oh yeah, take them for 3 months," I wouldn't get a pair of boots back. I'd get a raggedy pair of rags back.
Well, that's I was gonna say that's like almost what like that's like almost a quarter of your boot's lifespan right there with any other non-custom boot.
And a quarter of the life of a really higher end, like the Quarry or one of the tougher built ones. Not like the, those Vicious that I was getting is like a glorified sneaker,
Yep.
And, Anyways, so, well, I guess the last thing I had was, did you have any thoughts on the tanker? Because obviously I'm the tanker guy, so.
Yeah, it was really interesting trying out the tankers. I was like, I wasn't sure about them because I typically wear my boots pretty tight.
Right.
And that was kind of my big concern with wearing the tankers was I was like, how tight are they going to be? How well are they going to fit and all that? And all in all, given everything, they were very good. They're different. They're a little bit different than the laced. It's like they're not as restraining as the laced in some ways, it seems like, and depending on what you do, that might be good. It's easier, definitely way easier to bend down in them compared to the lace, especially if you have the lace, the 10-inch laced up all the way, So being an electrician, it's like I'm constantly bending down, I'm constantly getting on my knees to work on stuff and everything. And the lace can definitely get a little bit agitating if I don't loosen them up some and all that. The nice thing about the tankers is, though, like, I can loosen the buckles up pretty easy if I needed to. A lot of times I didn't even need to, though, bending down with them, because you just end up getting so much more play in your ankle with them, because of the way the belt loops around and everything.
Yep.
So, yeah, all in all, I think it was a great experience with them. I think that, and it's like they were probably, the model I had was probably a little loose on my feet altogether, but the one I'm wearing right now is like fits perfect. So I think a lot of it probably just comes with, making sure they fit right and everything. It's like as long as you got a good fit and everything, they'll lock your feet down really tight, and they're really good.
Well, and like we were noticing, comparing the two, this being the original pair, I don't know if some of the construction standards and techniques back then are what they are today, but like this buckle on this one sits much more centered. And I actually ran out of strap originally, and I had to put an extra hole in here to get these tight for me.
Right.
And you were noticing that they weren't quite as tight as you'd like them, and you put those on where the buckle was justified more to the side, and that actually utilizes more of the holes in the strap, and those felt tighter for you.
Super
right
tight,
away,
and they're perfect, and so it probably is just a matter in some ways of just the, over time they've kind of developed.
Yeah, and I would expect with the new model, they've probably put some more effort into making sure that all of those strap placement and things like that are more standardized, are going to be more consistent. Right. And from what I see from the pictures and what people are posting on Reddit and stuff, that is the case. So,
for sure.
And then, with the lower strap placement, it definitely seems like it's going to lock the heel in better.
Yeah,
which has been people's experience.
It's like, and even this one with it's slightly different than the old, the original design. It's like this already holds my heel in great. So I imagine, like you were just saying, with the strap moving down a little bit, it probably locks your foot in just fine.
Yep.
And the nice thing about it too is just how quick you can adjust them. It's not like lace where you gotta, like, if you lace it up in the morning, then it's like you're doing something different where you gotta bend down more. Then you're talking, unlacing the numerous eyelets, trying to get the tightness, the snugness just right. This you can easily play around with. It's like you're doing something that you gotta bend down with a lot more, and you're gonna be consistently bending down for a while. It's like you can just loosen these up a couple of notches and call it good, and then you can bend down, and you don't feel like there's a bunch of pressure on your feet and everything all the time. So.
Yeah, that was one of the, before I discovered slip-on mode, that was how I would kind of do it is throughout the day. I would start the day really tight, and then if there was something going on where I was like mechanicking, changing tires for a seasonal tire change or something, I was loosening the buckles, and that was the first thing I noticed was it's so much faster and easier to, in the moment, on the fly, adjust.
Yeah.
And then that compounded with slip-on mode later on, where it's like nowadays I don't hardly take it out of slip-on mode unless I need to, and
Yeah, they're pretty interesting. And it's it's just it probably just depends on what you're doing, what you would want between the lace and that, in some ways. Like if you're doing something where you just want your boots just tight, you like that really snug fit all the time, and you constantly want that, then lace is probably pretty good for that. You probably could use the Tinkers for that if you tighten them down really tight, because they'll hold your foot pretty good. But if you want something with a little bit more flexibility, or like you were saying, even just like once you kind of break them in enough, you can kind of get them to where they're more like a slip-on boot and stuff like that, and you just like that idea behind them. I mean, you can definitely do that with it, and it works great.
Yeah. Right on. Well, I think we talked about you wearing those when the Thunderdome's over for a little while, just to see if that different fit works better for you.
Mm-hmm.
Try out a wedge sole. But yeah,
it's crazy how many customization options are available now compared to even when I just first bought my first pair. It's like the customization.
It's unreal. The number of leathers.
Leathers, the colors, the soles. I mean, it was pretty universal when I bought the original Builder Pros that I got. I mean, they had some different selections here and there and stuff, but for work boots, it was very slim. I mean, you had, for your thicker leathers, I mean, you only had a few options, and then for the soles, I mean, you barely had any options for that.
Yeah, like the V100, the lug, and then I think they had a couple of the Christie wedges or whatever.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But not a whole lot of selection, and now they've got, they've even reintroduced half soles through Dr. Sole, and and they've got a whole line of their own wedges. They did get rid of the Max wedge. A little bit of a bummer, but I think I understand why. But they still have their the different colored wedges, the black and tan and brown. And
it's a lot of customization now, and they make it easy on the website too. It's like that was another thing too. Like, man, their website is just even totally different. But I mean, you can just tell they've
really polished it up though. From the early days. Oh man, it's a huge.
They're pros, It's like they know what they're doing. They're pros. They're building their business very well over. Well, it's like obviously they've been doing this a long time now. But even then, I mean, it's like they've built this business up very well. They've done a great job, making it to where you got the maximization of customization on the website to kind of try to figure out what you want, because it's like that was the thing I remember back when I was doing it. Was like you can only find so many pictures of stuff to like see what it looks like and all
now
that in real
there's
time.
Full, and they got a buying guide where you can see all the leathers, and they've linked to people's profiles with patina, and time in the boot and how the leather develops and stuff. It's a great thing. I would say to anybody who's looking at it and they're maybe getting a little daunted by all the customization, and Nick's is saying this all the time anyways, but I'll add to it that start with a basic model. Look at a standard configuration. Those are going to be pretty universal for most people. And then if you think you might start having some interest in customization, don't look at it like it's daunting. Look at it like you're a kid in a candy store and just get obsessed with it. Get on the website every night after work and drop down each one of those drop-down menus on the customization and read each one and look at what each leather is and look at each sole and really get into it because it's fun. It's so much fun, man.
Well, and watch videos of people too. It's like so many people have like social media posts of it now. YouTube videos, whatever, and it's like you can see so much of this now online, and because I mean it's blown up now, it's popular. About the time I was really getting into it was about the time everyday else was getting into it too. It seems like,
that was when the big explosion happened.
And
well, I think people were. I was talking to Caleb about it, and he was saying this kind of reiterating a similar sentiment about. It was almost like COVID or something triggered something, and people are kind of getting away from some of the throwaway garbage, and it's like, well, if this money is so slim and everything already, why don't I try and invest in something that's going to stretch that money out a little more? Like, it's a bigger investment now, but if it works out better in the long run, then... And I agree because the numbers agree with it. I mean, and Nix isn't the only P&W boot maker that's been exploding.
No.
So
all these other ones. Well, and it's just putting money back into the United States, right?
Yeah.
It's putting it back into the United States. It's supporting businesses that employ people like you and I that are trying to make a living and trying to get along at what they do what they love to do, and they're craftsmen at what they do, And so it's like, why wouldn't you want to support that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, why wouldn't you want to support people?
Even if you only broke even on the whole thing, it would still be well worth it.
Oh yeah. Well, and just the comfort. too.
Oh,
I
the
mean,
comfort's
it's like
unreal.
way better than any of the other stuff that you'd get.
I love I've been hearing it go around, it's meant to be worn in, not worn out.
Yeah,
and that has really clicked lately, especially getting back to your house and putting the OG pair of tankers on. When I slid these on, it was just like, oh yeah.
I remember these.
Yep.
I know, man. Well, and it's like, and it's like, I remember one of the things that really put me over the edge of getting them back when I was like, it's a lot of money, But it was one thing at Wrangler Star. It said, he was all like, if you should, the two things that you should spend the most money on are your mattress and your bed. Your boots and your bed. Because if you're not in one, you're in the other. And I remember that just was like, I was like, that just resonated with me. I was like, man, you're putting all these miles on your feet every day.
Every day, man.
However many hours you're working, 8, 10, 12 hours, whatever, and you're putting all these miles on your feet, constantly on your feet all day. And it's like, why wouldn't you get something that just is comfortable, lasts, feels good, and that you like, and that that there was hard work and craftsmanship that was poured into it,
Yeah, and there's a relationship element it's hard to convey. It's like, like I was talking about with the old boots, it's like they're on life support from the moment you get them. You're like trying to sustain them. These, I get them home on the weekend and I clean them up, and it's like this ritualistic thing between me and the boot. We're like companions in this life endeavor together.
Yeah.
And it's just like I had no idea that was even it's a great thing. I love it. It's awesome.
You're maintaining it, and it's and that's the thing about it too. It's like, it's just like it's something that you can rely on, because it's like you put the work to maintain it, you clean it, you oil them, and it's like it's there's something. You're right. There's something special about that.
It's not a begrudged, these are gonna die anyways, but I may as well try to squeeze a little. Right. No, it's like these are here every day, supporting me, helping me do my job. Well,
and I remember my frustration with even like having my Red Wing was like, I started learning about like maintaining boots and all that. When I had my Red Wings, and I remember I got like put my mink oil on it. And it's like looking at it now, it's like polishing up garbage pretty much. It's like let me try to take really good care of this garbage, and all that. But I mean, it was though. It's like I would try to take good care of it. I'd clean them. I remember there was like time where I would clean it like every week practically, just because I was like, I'm trying to take good care of them and trying to make them last, and they wouldn't last, And it was like almost discouraging, because you're like, man, I tried to put some work into these to make them last, because I don't want them to be just garbage, I want to make them last. I don't want to be wasteful, and all that, and but with the Nicks and with the custom boot, the handmade boots, it's like you can, it's like that like every time I clean them, every time I oil them, I'm getting a little bit longer out of them, because it's a direct proportion of like the effort you put into them to maintaining them and all that is how long you're going to end up getting out of them, So
for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if the camera's picking up me shivering, but it's kind of cold out here. We had to retreat to the shed because there's 8 kids between the two of us, so inside the house wasn't really gonna work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've touched on enough stuff, and I'm ready to go warm up. So
same.
Thanks for. We were gonna chat anyways. Yeah. This was gonna pretty well happen anyways. So.
Fun to do a little podcast about boots.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Exactly. We'll have to do it again, maybe in the summer.
In the summer when it's a little warmer out.
Yeah. We can fight off the mosquitoes instead of the cold.
Yeah, seriously though.
Well, all right. Hope everybody enjoyed or got something helpful out of this. Sorry it's in the shed, but do what you got to do.
Yep. Get yourself a pair of boots.
Yeah. Get some boots. Support Nicks.
What are you even doing if you don't have a pair of handmade boots?
Yeah. I always think of Mikey. I don't know if you watch the podcast, but he's the guy that primarily is the rapid E-stitcher guy who's putting the sole on the boot, like the most dangerous part of the whole project. I don't know if you see the how-to videos and the thumbs right there next to
the sewing machine.
Oh man. But anytime he's on the podcast, man, he always has to shout out the customers, and his appreciation is a reciprocal thing. I appreciate everybody over there at Nicks who's doing their best, and we all, it's fantastic
craftsmanship
stuff.
And it's noticed.
We're out here doing the same thing, and all right,
over and out.
See ya.
Fade to black.
Fade to black.